All right, everybody, welcome to Creative Mornings, Charlotte. How you doing? Why do we do this every month? Well, we have a manifesto. You know, it starts with everyone is creative. Every single person is creative. And it ends with everyone is welcome. And we really, really want to send that out to the community, too. We want everyone to feel welcome here in the Creative Mornings rooms. We want everyone to feel welcome here in Charlotte. One of the phrases I want to point out today is that we're also here to encourage you to make the things that you love. And one of the ways that we're trying to live that out is with this new initiative that we've launched called the Hug Grants, Helpful Unfettered Gift.
So this month we are proud to give out 4 to some really interesting projects. Cabana VR, a design show process A plus GD portfolio show, the Give Back, which is a cool project helping people that really need a leg up at Dup and Swat. And then Sean Kelly, he's working on a documentary about his father's experience in Vietnam called My Father's Brother.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, sponsors. And thank you guys for your amazing creativity. Keep sending those applications in because we're going to keep giving those dollars away. One of our favorite traditions is for some local Charlotte musician or band to come play some new stuff that they're up to. And of course, this morning, no exception at all. So please join me in welcoming to the Charlotte Star Room Music Stage, pianist Ethan Uslan, everyone.
We interrupt your creative morning with breaking news from Fox 46 Charlotte. Turns out that Jack Daniel, the famous purveyor of fine whiskey, died from an infection sustained after kicking something in anger and busting his toe. The something? Well, let's just say he often had trouble remembering the combination. That line was money. Back to you, Matt.
So without further ado, we're at the main event. I'm super excited, like I said, to bring up Mark Pettis. So just a little bit about Mark before he takes the stage. He is a professor of leadership at Johnson & Wales University. He teaches courses on ethics and moral philosophy. He's the host of a new podcast called On Life and Meaning, which I was very honored to be a guest on, and it was just a real joy to have that conversation with you. It's a great podcast, and it explores our lives and our work. The mission of the podcast is to inspire a more insightful and humane world. He's also the founder and former editor of Charlotte Viewpoint, an online magazine that was really sort of a torch-bearing online publication, I might add, about city life and culture. He's had previous careers in law and business. He's a graduate of the Florida State University College of Law and of Rollins College, where he studied history and philosophy of religion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Creative Morning stage to speak to us on our global theme of death, Charlotte's own Mark Pettis, everyone. Come on up, Mark.
Thanks, Matt. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Matt, for everything you do. You are such a gift to our city. And thank you to Tim and to the Creative Mornings team and to all of you. There are a few special friends in the audience, and you know who you are, and thank you for being here. Creative Mornings is a celebration of life, of music, of joy, and fun. And it seems so strange, so out of context, to talk about death. Death is as dark and disturbing as it gets. It's a topic we avoid, but not one we can escape. We can talk about death in a humorous and fun way, as we should. We can also address death head-on, more soberly, more directly, and bring up all that it might mean. I'm going to take it head-on. I wanted to talk about death in this way for 2 reasons. 1, to honor my parents, more about that soon. And 2, the work I do teaching moral philosophy tells me that there is no more important subject than our mortality. Death forces us to confront our lives. We talk about death a lot in the classes I teach, and I wanted to share some of what I've learned with you. In preparing for this talk, I thought of a metaphor, a countdown to 0. I would share a few thoughts that may seem unrelated as the numbers turn. The metaphor is obvious. Life counts down as we connect the dots and search for meaning. This is a picture of my father taken when he was young. My father's name is Ambrosio Benchimol Perez. I love this picture. After World War II, my father emigrated from Brazil to the United States. This is his first American car. You can barely see him. It is the car that is at the forefront, and everything that car represents in terms of the American dream. My father is yet to emerge in his new country. He has yet to get married, yet to have 5 children and 15 grandchildren, yet to fail and to succeed, to move from one city to the next, to work relentlessly, to create something for himself and his family. Here is my father again with my mom and brothers and sisters. This photograph was taken in 1961, the first year of the Kennedy administration. My dad is 44 years old in this picture. I see such hope and optimism in the faces of my parents, of a nation welcoming immigrants, of assimilation and culture and contribution. This photograph was taken in 1998, one of the last photographs that I took of my father. I took it 3 days after my daughter, his granddaughter, was born. What these photographs don't tell you about is about his unyielding work ethic, his intelligence, his command of history and philosophy, his fluency in several languages, how funny he could be, his love for politics and current events, what made him happy and sad. A little more than a year after this photograph was taken, on the afternoon of August 20th, 1999, my dad and my mom got in a car to go to the grocery store, when another car, traveling over 70 miles an hour, sped through a red light. My parents' car was destroyed. My mom had lacerated organs and broken bones throughout her body and was taken to a major regional hospital. My dad's lungs were punctured and he was taken to a smaller neighborhood hospital. My sister shuttled between the 2 hospitals, spending more time with my mom. I had just moved to Charlotte. My sisters told me not to fly back to Florida, that my parents would live. How could they not? And that's when the phone rang, in the early hours of the morning. One of those rings that jolt you from the twilight of sleep. My heart leapt out of my chest. I picked up the phone and heard my sister's trembling voice. She whispered, "Daddy died." After I hung up the phone, I wailed this guttural cry. My wife, my beautiful wife, Laura, who was beside me, held me as the tears just poured down my face. I wonder what my dad was feeling in the last moments alone in the hospital. Where did his hopes and fears and dreams go in that moment? Where did the whole of his life go? How is he just gone? 2 years after my dad died, I took this photograph of my daughter standing on my father's grave. In 1998, the poet Annie Dillard published an essay in Harper's Magazine called "The Wreck of Time." In her essay, she noted that we live on a planet that orbits a small star in the Milky Way. Our sun is one of an estimated 400 billion stars in our galaxy. Recent estimates calculate 10 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. There are more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on Earth. On our planet, there are currently 7.5 billion people. Every second, nearly 2 people die. During the 90 minutes we are together this morning, 9,450 people will breathe their last breath. By tonight, 151,000 people who were living when we woke up this morning will be dead. Homo sapiens have lived on this planet for at least 150,000 years, eating dinner, building homes, looking at the stars. Over 120 billion people have lived and died, each aware of death, each with their own hopes and dreams. Over 7,000 generations of our ancestors have preceded us. 90% of the people who have ever lived are dead. For every 1 person above ground, there are 15 people buried and decomposed in the earth. The dead will always outnumber the living. In 1971, Ernest Becker, a cultural anthropologist, wrote a book called The Denial of Death that won the Pulitzer Prize. Becker said that knowing that we are going to die affects everything we believe and do. Because death is overwhelming, because it gives us such anxiety and existential despair, we act as if it won't happen to us. We deny our own death. It's a denial he called the vital lie. A vital lie because denying death allows us to get on with our day. According to Becker, humanity has developed three primary psychological compensations or cognitive solutions to the problem of death: religion, romantic love, and creativity. The religious solution creates a narrative that we have souls that will live on after we die, that there is a place we will go, a place in which we will be immortal. So we obey religious guidelines in the here and now. The romantic solution tells us that if we find the one who completes us emotionally, we can live forever in the memory and affection of our beloved. So we yearn to fall in love with our eternal soulmate. The creative solution tells us that we can live on through what we leave behind. So we sing songs and paint paintings and build buildings as a form of immortality. Immortality projects that become civilizations that rise and fall over time. All of these cognitive solutions create the illusion of transitioning from nevermore to evermore. In a recent movie, a character says, "A writer writes a novel. A songwriter writes a song. We do what we can to endure. We build our legacy piece by piece, and maybe the world will remember us, or maybe just a few people will. But we do what we can to make sure that we were still around after we are gone." In 2004, I wrote these words. I read the paper today and stopped on the obituaries. It's not something I normally do. The temperature is dropping, the leaves are falling, bare branches are showing. Winter can catch you in its chill, as Faces of the Dead can do off of a page. Here and there are short little biographies, entire lives condensed to a paragraph or two. Here is the life of Jane Austen in 3 sentences. Marriages and careers, awards and recognition, all reduced to an economic report, making sure to mention the names of the predeceased and the surviving and where to send the flowers. Each obituary, a headstone, the headstones together, a cemetery, the cemetery as impermanent as newsprint as tomorrow's run is prepared. So what to do with this life? It's the stuff of shaman and rabbis, of high priests and street corner prophets. It's the stuff of kings and midwives, of architects and existentialists. It's ultimately the stuff of art, of objects in time and the creative destruction of the seasons. Do all you can with what you have in this time and place. So we join the chamber. We love our children. We balance the books. Live for the moment. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. So we buy the new car. We write our novel, and we cross state lines. If we do it right by some measure, we get special mention in the paper. So what to do with this life? Will it be a disconnect or a walk toward the truth? Will it be a missed opportunity, or will a light shine from within? In 1965, there was a folk rock and jug band in San Francisco called the Warlocks. Jerry Garcia, the leader of the band, was looking for a new name for the group because there was a rock band on the East Coast by the same name. Jerry opened up the dictionary and put his finger down randomly on a page. He saw a definition about the souls of dead people who show gratitude to those who help arrange their burial. Jerry instantly changed the name of the band to the Grateful Dead. Jerry identified with the dead. His father drowned when Jerry was 5 years old. Jerry said that he wanted to be part of something that was alive. He wanted magic and bliss, power and myth in his life. So the music of the Grateful Dead was always different, mutating, fluid, present, open, without artificial starts and stops, a stream of consciousness, endless scroll of musical text that trembled and exploded in the eternal now. In the year 1600, William Shakespeare wrote The Tragedy of Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. In the play, Prince Hamlet is visited by the ghost of his father, the king, who had been murdered by Hamlet's uncle Claudius, who had taken the throne. Hamlet is distraught. What should he do? Should he avenge his father's murder by killing Claudius? What is a good reason to end the life of another person? Why not simply kill himself and end his own suffering? In Act 3, Scene 1, Hamlet asks, is it better to be alive or to be dead? Is it better to suffer all the pains and injustice that come our way, or fight against it by putting an end to suffering once and for all? What is the point of doing anything when we're all going to die? In Act 5, Scene 1, Hamlet visits a happy gravedigger who presents Hamlet the skull of Yorick, the king's jester, who has been dead for 23 years. Hamlet stares at the skull. Alas, poor Yorick, Hamlet says, I used to know you. You were a fellow of infinite jest. When I was a child, you carried me on your back 1,000 times, and I used to kiss you on your lips. Where are your jokes now? Your pranks, your songs, your creative mornings? In Act 5, Scene 2, Hamlet prepares to fight Laertes, Claudius' son, in a duel. Thinking that he might die in the fight, Hamlet says, if death be now, 'tis not to come. If death be not to come, it will be now. If death be not now, yet it will come. The readiness is all. If you've seen the play, everyone dies in the end. In 2009, I wrote, there is Chronos time and there is Kairos time. Chronos time is time counted in seconds, minutes, hours, days, months, years, centuries. It is mechanical time. The clock ticks until it doesn't. In contrast, Kairos time is human and divine time, measured by the depth of sensation. Time as we know it is altered as we are profoundly in the now. We've all had these moments when all stops and flows, slow dancing with our beloved. We know flow as the mental state in which we are fully absorbed in what we are doing. We are in time and of time. When we are creating what matters to us, we are fully alive, powerful in the currents of eternity. Work is underway in Silicon Valley to make death optional. The idea is a simple one. Death is a technical problem that can be solved. If we die of cancer, we can cure it. If we die of heart disease, we can prevent it. If we die of aging, we can reverse it. We can live well longer. If we live well long enough, we can live forever. There are companies working on hacking the code of life, on new enzymes and proteins, on new hormones and gene therapies, on transplants and transfusions, on implanting microchips into our brains and printing 3D-generated organs, on downloading our memories into networked, artificially intelligent and algorithm-driven avatars. One company on the forefront of life extension is Calico, short for California Life Company, a division of Alphabet, the parent company of Google. Calico is working on identifying biomarkers that will fix evolutionary bugs in our DNA. If we can splice and combine the right genes and merge carbon-based cells with silicon circuits, if we can ingest the right mix of chemicals, we can modify our software and live longer and better and more youthful lives. We might even have super intelligence, super wellness, and super longevity. We could potentially load the dice and be young and vital forever, replace our bodies and become transhuman, and avoid death altogether. If you could, would you? In Borneo, there is a tribe of people who practice a funeral rite in which they do not bury the dead. Instead, families display the corpses of loved ones in their homes and allow it to decompose over several months. This allows the soul of the body time to transition to an afterlife surrounded by the daily activities of the living. Once the body has fallen apart, signaling that the spirit of their loved ones has fully transitioned, the family invites the community over for a lavish meal that occurs over the decayed flesh and bones of the dead. The skull of the dead is then washed and placed casually about their homes in honor. This is a picture of my mother taken when she was 18 years old. Her name is Maria Dolores Frias Perez. The night this photograph was taken, she met my father at a costume party during Carnival in Brazil. What this photograph doesn't tell you about is her deep sentimentality, her choices as a wife and mother, her pride, her love of music and starlight and the moon, her faith and spirituality. This is my mom now. She is now under my sister's care. She is unable to walk. 2 days from now is my mom's birthday. She will be 83 years old. Death occurs in the midst of life. Death of our memories, death of moments that will never return, death of the people we love. Our feelings about death are very real. Grief, anxiety, fascination, dread. As we encounter death, the question is not what is the meaning of life, but how do we find meaning in life? I believe we find meaning by living idealistically, in pursuit of the way things should be. Our lives have meaning to the extent we are creating the world in which we want to live, devoted to a cause greater than ourselves, to the change we want to see. I believe we find meaning by thinking about what matters. Our lives have meaning to the extent that we reflect on existence, living in the timeless and hard questions of the meaning of things that adds depth to what we do and feel. I believe we find meaning by embracing intimacy with our friends and lovers. Our lives have meaning to the extent that we open our hearts with vulnerability to each other, expressing what we sense, pursuing truth and beauty. That we act, that we think, that we feel about what matters most. As life counts down, are you living a life of friendship and romance and honor and bravery? Are you living your life on your own terms? Are you questioning authority? Are you fighting for justice and peace? Are you living compassionately? Are you saying what needs to be said? Are you trying and failing and trying again? Are you saying yes? Yes to music and dance and play and expressions of the heart and rigors of the mind. Yes to laughter and joy and contemplation and prayer. Are you saying yes to infinite jest? Yes to trembling and exploding in the eternal now. Yes to creativity and honesty and to love. The readiness is all. Thank you.
Mark Pettis, everybody, Mark Pettis. Woo. Amazing. One more time, Mark, come up here one more time. Come here.